The following is an encore presentation of stories from the Dooralong Transformation Centre. 10, here on 94.9, Rima Central Coast. As I mentioned before the 10 o'clock news, we've got one of our great guests from the Dooralong Transformation Centre. Today, it's Emma, so I'm going to start by saying good morning to you, Emma.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Good.
You're good. How are things at Dooralong? I mean, I've been in there in the summer, but I've never been there in the winter. Is it?
When it's windy, it's quite cool, but
yeah, it's not really pool weather though, is it? I don't think many people in the pool.
Definitely not.
No, just rug up, keep yourself as warm as you can.
Yeah, definitely. We've got the beanies and the rugs and stuff out. So.
And the wildlife is still active, is it?
Yeah. There was actually a possum stuck down at the lodge yesterday, and in the daylight he couldn't really find his way back home. I suppose.
Oh, poor thing.
Yeah.
Does everybody feed the wildlife? You're probably not meant to, but you can't
we do.
not. You
we
can't
do.
not, yeah.
Yeah, we actually have a designated person to feed the ducks. And,
is that right? Yeah, that would be a good job. Duck feeder.
Everyone feeds the possums and the kangaroos and...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at this time of the year, there are no snakes. Well, they will be there, but they're hibernating, I hope.
Yeah, not that we see.
No, we sort of don't feed them. How long have you been at Dooralong, Emma?
I've been there for about 8.5 months now.
8.5 months, yeah. And when do you hope to graduate?
In about 8 or 9 weeks.
Yeah, so you'll have been there for 9-10 months.
Yep.
Which is a long time, isn't it?
It is, but it's just a short time out of my life.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, let's turn the clock back on you, and let's find out, what your life was like before Dooralong. What was life like for you before Dooralong?
It's quite unmanageable.
Unmanageable?
Yeah.
It's drink, or is it drugs, or?
It was both.
It was both drink and drugs.
Yeah. Yep.
And did they come into your life at an early age?
Yeah, so when I was 14, I had my first drink, and it was 8 drinks actually, and I was still looking for more after those 8 drinks.
And that was the first occasion?
Yep.
And you had 8 alcoholic drinks?
Yep.
And still looking for more?
Yep.
It's a bit of a problem when you look back with the benefit of hindsight, isn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah. So have you got one of these personalities? I think we've had people before, they say they have what's called an addictive personality.
Definitely. Anything that I do in my life, it's with excessively. Whether it's shopping or...
There's no mid-ground, it's all or it's nothing.
That's it, yeah.
And in some ways that's good, because if you're studying for something, that's great.
Yeah.
If you've got a career, that's brilliant. But when it comes to drink and drugs, it's not so good, is it?
Yeah, definitely not. And just small things in my life become unmanageable, like something that would be, say, easy for you, like paying the rego in the car and keeping bills and that up to date and routine in everyday life. Yeah.
Yeah. So there you are at the age of 14, you're drinking excessively. It's going to have an effect on your schoolwork.
Definitely, yeah. Yes, I drifted away from school on the end of year 9, the beginning of year 10, and actually started dabbling in other drugs, marijuana being the main one, and the underage parties. And
when you look back at your life now, is that one of your big regrets, not finishing school and getting sort of qualifications, or is it something you think, no, that I've got worse regrets than that?
Yeah, I'm a big believer in everything happens for a reason, and I think we're only given the life we can handle. So I think, my higher power must think I'm some kind of warrior.
Yeah.
But I did. I went halfway through year 11 and fell pregnant. And it wasn't long before I left school and had a baby.
Not making it easy for yourself, are you, Emma?
I definitely have always done things the hard way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because that would be pressure enough upon anybody, but certainly at your that young age, and with these addictions which have already developed, to be having a child, that's a huge amount of stress and pressure, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. Just not just on me, on the whole family, I think.
So during this time of teenage years, Mum and Dad were standing by you?
Yeah, they've always stood by me no matter what. But, you know, like I said before, the whole family, when you're a family, everyone kind of goes through it with you. Like, I think my mum started menopause when I was pregnant. So that was hard. Like, she didn't go through that alone. We all went through it with her. And I've told her that many times. But we were all at that time when I fell pregnant. Me and my partner was struggling. He was struggling with depression as well, and
so for you at this time, with that pressure, were drugs just a form of a brief escapism? Was it something that you were doing to escape the pressure and the difficult situation that you were in?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was just having children young, but me and my children's dad we were together for about 5 years and went through quite a lot together, but we split up when I was about 19, and that's when my drinking kind of come back into my life, and it was every weekend, and that was a big escape thing for me to be going out every weekend, and like I mentioned before we were on air to about it wasn't just drinking, it was done excessively, and it was blackouts, and it was ending up in a place I didn't know how I got there, and it was.
So this isn't the jokey side of drinking and the fun, I had a really bad hangover, you should have seen what I did last night. It's way beyond this, isn't it? You're having blackouts, you cannot remember what's going on. You're waking up in situations which are dangerous. Yeah,
definitely. One of my biggest things was jumping in the car, being intoxicated. It was the fighting and the crying. So keeping everything bottled up at a young age, and then that'd all come out when I'd drink or use.
And you were explaining to me, again, we were chatting, listeners know this, we were chatting as the news was playing, and Emma was telling me that one of the things that she was bottling up, that the drink and the drugs helped to sort of keep under control, was the loss of was it your father?
My father, yeah.
Yeah. He died when you were how old?
He committed suicide when I was 14.
Yeah. So that would have been a really hard time for you. And that was about the time that you started drinking, and it was the way in which you coped with that grief.
Yep. So and I didn't just drink to cope with that. I drank my first drink was for my cousin actually took me for an 18th birthday party, and it was it was all fun and all good, but it slowly become progressive, and things happened when I drank. Like, I couldn't drink like a normal person.
You never said, "Oh, look, I've probably had enough for tonight. I'll just sort of take it easy."
Never, ever.
No, it was always looking for something else. Another drink, another fix.
Yep.
What was your lowest point? We ask everybody that comes from Dooralong that, but it's really interesting.
Yeah. So before I come into Dooralong, I was living at other people's places. You
had no digs of your own, no accommodation of your own?
I did have accommodation at my my dad's house, but I was, and this is the man that actually raised me from that age of, under 3. And he always earned the right to be called Dad. He was, he's always been there. But I couldn't, this was after a breakup with my ex-fiance, a few months beforehand, and I'm living back at Dad's, and we had a few disagreements. My children were always in bed on time and that kind of thing, but when it would come to me, because the ice had taken a hold of me and my life, and when it come to me going to bed on time, that was, me putting my defence up, and I'm 30 odd years old, and you can't tell me when to go to bed and that kind of thing. But towards the end, I just couldn't. I avoided my family, and I couldn't bear to see the disappointment on my dad's face anymore. And my actual lowest point would have been one day when because I was living in and out of my car and couch surfing, as people say. My lowest point, I would say, was, and it nearly broke me, was when I went to Dad's to do some washing and grab some more things or whatever I needed for that day or week, or not knowing when I'd be back home. It was actually my dad saying to me, where have you been? And I usually make up some lie and just say, just at a friend's house. And he actually looked at me and said, what, I've just been waiting for the next knock at the door to be the police, and for them to tell me that you were dead somewhere.
Yeah.
So, that...
You realised what you were putting your family through?
Yeah, that was kind of one of my lowest points.
Yeah. They were expecting you to end up dead?
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty confronting, isn't it? Pretty challenging.
Definitely.
And that was a turning point for you, when you looked into his face and saw the heartbreak there and the pain?
Yep. So, about a week and a half later after that, or 2 weeks, I was in my car, parked down by the river, and getting dressed out of my car and trying to get ready for the day, and no fuel, no money, no food, and realised I had to go home, and I was sick of living like that, and really thinking about where my life was going. And I rang my mother, and I said to meet me at Dad's, and she met me up there, and then I sat down and said, it's time to make that phone call.
Time to get some help.
Yeah. So that was
and that was another life-changing moment, wasn't it?
Yeah, I really found hope that day.
Yeah.
Again, yeah.
Thanks for sharing that with us, Emma. We are back at 29, coming up to 10:30 here on Rima Central Coast. We're talking to Emma this morning. We left Emma's story at the point where her mum has just made a phone call about getting into Dooralong. Of course, Emma got into Dooralong, but that was 9 months ago, Emma. How are you different, do you think, than you were 9 months ago?
That's a bit of a tough question to ask. Well, as you can see, the smile on my face at the moment, it's genuine. I have hope for the future. I can actually see a future, and when I look and think about the future, I find myself fantasizing about how good it's going to be, and healthy, and there's so many good things.
Daring to make plans for the future.
Yeah.
With hope.
Yep.
Which you haven't had in your life for a long time. Hope.
Yeah, definitely.
So you arrive at Dooralong. What's it like when you first get there? Are you a city girl or a country girl?
I'm definitely country through and through.
You'd love it then, wouldn't you?
Yeah. William Booth was it's not really for me.
William Booth
but
is in the centre of Sydney, really.
Sydney, yeah.
And that's where you did your detox, is it?
Yep. So, I was there for 3.5 weeks.
Yeah.
And...
But glad to leave the city.
Yeah, definitely. If I had a stay, I was willing to stick it out there, because, my life had just become that unmanageable. I was willing to do anything.
If that's what it would have taken, you would have done it.
Yes.
But it would be nicer to do it in Dooralong than in Sydney CBD.
Yeah, well, now that I know the...
Now you've compared the two.
Yeah, I had some great, I had a great caseworker at William Booth. She was lovely, and they genuinely care.
Yeah. It's not a job, is it?
Yeah.
Well, it is a job, but
it's
a passion.
It is, and it takes a special person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you've been there at Dooralong for 9 months. I mean, it's not all fun. You must have done a lot of tough, hard work in that time. What's the hardest bit of being at Dooralong?
So I'd say not just Dooralong, but being in recovery and being at Dooralong. It's hard being away from my family. But I know it's just a small part of my life that I'm working on to have a better future, and not just a better future, but a future. Because where I was, it wasn't looking.
And they will have peeled away all those, the layers of the onion to try and get deep down into your psyche to see what the reasons for the what you were trying to blot out and all that sort of business. That must be a challenging sort of process.
That is, and it's been hard for me to open up, and I'm still only just touching on that. A few things that need working on in my life. So even after this 8.5 months, it's I'm still only just scratching the surface. And learning so much about myself and my values and beliefs, and but I can remember my first group in level 2, I think, and I actually had to remove myself from the group, and I broke down and was carried by my caseworker pretty much back to my cabin. I was that emotional, and
so stuff. We're not asking for details of it, Emma, but stuff that was sort of buried and repressed and sort of locked away deep within you.
Yep.
And were perhaps one of the reasons why you're drinking and turning to drugs. All that stuff has to come out.
Yeah.
And when it does, it's quite an emotional time, but it's a good, safe place to do it, though, isn't it, Dooralong? Yeah,
definitely. There's a lot of help, and I think the hardest thing is just asking for it and putting your hand out and saying, I need help with this.
Is that something as an individual, knowing yourself? Are you one of these people who are very sort of self-reliant, that it goes against the grain to ask somebody for help?
Not. I wouldn't say proud, or the pride takes over, but I know. Yeah, that's a big one. I know how the things that I've been through in my life, and that I've had to overcome, has given me strength that I've, that I never knew I had.
Yes.
So when it comes to talking about something little that, that I think's little, but it's actually something quite important that needs to be dealt with.
Yes.
I'm still pushing that down, and I find it easier to help others rather than to talk about myself or my
very private, independent, proud person.
Yeah, and I know how strong I am.
Yeah.
So But
you've got to sort of Yeah, and look, you've been doing it for the last 9 months, so
Yep.
that's pretty cool. Now you've brought in with you something. Emma's brought in something that she wanted to read out to us. It's a letter that she's written. I'll get Emma to tell us in a moment who it's to. But at what stage of your recovery at Dooralong did you write this? Is this a recent letter or one that you wrote early on?
Yeah, this was a few months ago.
A few months ago, yeah.
Yeah, and it was actually a part of a group, a task that we did in one of our groups in level 2. And it's actually a letter to my addiction, and it's pretty much saying goodbye to my addiction. And it was quite a hard. Once I started writing it, I couldn't stop, and I could have written another 10, 15 pages.
Yeah.
This one's just one page.
Okay, and it's addressed, I can see, I'm reading it upside down, but it's addressed to your addiction of alcohol and ice.
And ice, yeah.
Yeah, okay, go for it, Emma.
Yep, okay. So to my addiction to alcohol and ice, this is a letter to say, I never want you to be part of my life ever again. And on that note, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure that you never ever become any part of my children's or my family's lives. You've stolen so much from me and my family already. I'm strong now and refuse to let you hurt me and my children ever again. I'm letting you go now forever. You are toxic and destroying, like Satan himself. I am worth so much more than anything you ever gave me. I won't ever miss you. I am better than and stronger than you. And now I am going to tell everyone that will listen what you did.
Yeah, that's very heartfelt, very moving letter. It's nearly midway between 20 to 11 and quarter to 11. We're talking to Emma this morning. Emma very kindly read out a letter that she wrote to her addiction just before that break, which was really very moving. Now, you've been there at Dooralong now for 9 months. What have you made of the whole God thing, the Christianity side of Dooralong? Were you a church? Did you have a church background at all before you went to Dooralong?
As a young kid, we'd go to... I've been to church a few times. My mum's always... she's she's not quite religious, but she's taken us to church and that as young kids.
Yeah. I got taken to
school.
church. I was sent to Sunday school, but I think it was more to do with not so much with my spirituality, but I think just mum and dad trying to get me and my brother out of the house on the Sunday. I think they just want some time without us arguing around the place. Yeah. So I think, maybe lots of people were sent to Sunday school for that reason. Yeah.
Well, growing up with not much as well. My mum's. We've relied on the salvos at quite a few times in our lives, and they've. Yeah.
So when you come to Dooralong and you realise that chapel night is a pretty important event in the sort of weekly calendar down at Dooralong.
It is. I think there's some people that moan about it, I guess, but I think deep down they like the getting togetherness of it all, and I know I do. I dress up and do my hair, and it's quite nice, and we get awards, and it's we're given cake and coffee, and we all chat and that afterwards. It's really nice, and Barry, I think I had a Facebook post there one day, and Barry actually come out, and he was dressed as a giraffe, and
this is Barry. He's one of the workers there.
He is. He's like Major Gav.
Okay,
he's one of the bosses type. I don't know how to describe Barry. But it's wonderful when we all get together like that.
And you were telling me just as we were listening to Delirious there, you were telling me that you go to the Long Jetty Church on a Sunday and you enjoy that.
Yeah, it's lovely people, and I even I find when I'm at church and I'm looking around, I tend to sit by myself most times, and I look around and I just see people, some that are hurting, and they come to a place where they feel love and connection, and it's family for a lot of people that go there, and little kids running around, and it's I don't know about you, but it's always struck me as odd that when we read the stories in the Bible of Jesus and the way people just flocked to him, there were crowds around him wherever he went, and it was the people who were hurting, like you say, who flocked to him. Somehow over the years, the church has sort of frightened away the people that used to flock to Jesus. The hurting people now don't go to church, but like you say, when they do and they experience the love of the love that's there, and the sort of the hope that's there. I can feel that when I'm there, and I read something a month or so ago, and it was religion is for people that don't want to go to hell, and spirituality is for people that have already been to hell. And I've heard a lot of people quite a few people have stood up and told their story at Long Jetty, and it's really inspiring to see how far they've come, and how much hope they have in their life, and it gives me hope to know that there's another way to live life.
So will that be one of the supports that you put in place when you do leave Dooralong, that you might perhaps continue to go to a local Salvos church and keep that connection with the Salvos alive in that way?
Yeah, well, I think actually of a Tuesday I go to Long Jetty and do craft with, it's a room full of elderly ladies, and one of them being Sheila, her name is, and I just idolise her. And she's been doing this craft for 20 years, and she was there teaching some of the ladies at a Dooralong, the support workers like Dale and Irene and Paula, and and I talked to her about when I was younger and my mum went through program, and she tells me, I think I remember her, and we took a selfie, and I've got to show my mum, and but she's taught me how to sew on a sewing machine, and she's told me a bit about her story, and she's definitely she's been to hell and back, and I just love elderly people
with their experience and their wisdom.
Yeah, definitely, and whether I do go to attend a church or not, it's I know I'll definitely be putting something else into my life, like, something that I can manage, like get my fitness back on track, and and work and have that, that support network set out.
And you've got some great support from your family as well, from your brother, your dad, your mum,
and all these places that I've been to, and the things I've done whilst I've been at Dooralong have inspired me in one way or another. A
lot of people cheering you on.
There is, and I think there always has been.
You just weren't aware of it, or didn't allow yourself to sort of become aware of it.
It's an inside job.
Yeah. Look, you've been very, very honest with us this morning, Gavin. We thank you for that. We know you'll be graduating. How long was it now? 8 to 9 weeks?
Yeah,
so not too long. We just pray that God will continue to sort of guide you into the paths that He would have for the rest of your life. Enjoy the meal tonight, the roast. And enjoy chapel night this evening. Yeah,
I actually picked some fresh carrots from the garden for my work duties.
Are you in the kitchens?
No, but I took the vegetables to the kitchen. So
we know that carrots are on the menu. We're not sure what's going with the carrots, but it's carrots and something.
Yes, hopefully.
Carrots and something tonight. Something roast, we hope. Yeah. Again, thanks very much for coming in, and give our love to everybody. You've been listening to an encore presentation of the Dooralong stories, which can be heard live every Wednesday at 10 a.m. and repeated 8 p.m. Sunday and 1 a.m. Wednesday, right here on 94.9 rema.cc.